Welcome to a special event release of the Sound of Movement podcast. In this 7-part series, we will reveal why conventional stretching methods are dead and introduce you to the 5 steps to unlocking peak strength and flexibility in adulthood. Strap yourself in and get ready. This is the Flexibility Blueprint 2023 edition. Before we get started, as with all our blueprints, the 2023 edition is available to everyone for free, because my brother Yanni and I want to democratize health and fitness education to empower everyone to unleash their inner athlete by achieving the highest levels of health and athletic performance possible. So please, support us by liking and leaving a comment on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, and please give us a Google review if you haven't done so already. And most importantly, if you learn something or benefit from this episode, chances are someone you know would too. So pretty please, with a sprinkle of sugar on top, share the content with your inner circle by clicking that little button below the stream window on Spotify or below the video window on YouTube, and then send it to one of your friends. Do that right now. It would mean the world to Yanni and I promise it will mean a lot to your friends. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of this 7-part podcast series where we're going through all of the points from the Flexibility Blueprint 2023 edition, which is going to be released in September. If you check the description of this video or podcast, you can see the official release date there. It's completely free, and it's there to help declutter your head from all of these flexibility videos that you're watching on YouTube that are giving you a whole bunch of great information, but confusing you and not teaching you exactly what you need to do right now based on whether you're stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3 flexibility. So that's what the Flexibility Blueprint is going to do. It's going to cut through all that and show you exactly what you need to focus on to get a breakthrough in 28 days. And point 3 of the Flexibility Blueprint is to build strength and flexibility to protect your joints. So that's actually a sort of a dulled down way to say train full range strength training. So by training full range with your strength training, you actually develop flexibility, and anything less than full range won't have the same impact on your flexibility training. So we're talking things like bench pressing, shoulder pressing, squatting, pull-ups, the typical type of strength movements that you do in a gym. Training them full range of motion has a very different effect on the body than training partial range. So there's a full range dip that I just did there. So that's what we're talking about today. And if you're not training full range of motion strength training and you want to get flexible, then listen up.
Yeah, look, and so before we dive into the specifics of this, I want to just sort of pre-frame a couple of things and address the elephant in the room, which is, that there are many ways of training, and not all ways of training suit all sports and things like that. So, you might think, well, I'm a power lifter. Do I need to train full range of motion? If you want to be great at powerlifting, probably not, even sprinters and things like that. I watched once a strength workout with Usain Bolt in the documentary about him, and I didn't see him once do a deep squat. And when you think about it, in the movement pattern of sprinting at full tilt, you don't replicate a full squat. So you might argue, well, you don't need to. That guy was the fastest in the world. That said, when I learned with Charles Poliquin, he was a big proponent of full range squatting because it recruits more muscle fiber. It is good for you. It's good for the knees and whatever else. Good for the hips. Good for the back. But what we should make really clear in pre-framing this episode is that range of motion is a loading variable, just like the amount of weight that you're lifting. And if you're not flexible and you're in the gym lifting weight, it's not going to be a good idea to force yourself into full range of motion. It's something that you have to progressively overload. And I see people a lot in the gym. I've even had people say this to me, I can only squat ass to grass if I've got over 100 kilos on my back. which to me just sounds really, really stupid. Because if you can't get down there without any load, meaning you have to force your body into the position, it just logically doesn't seem like a sound principle to be following. You know, you're putting enormous stresses on the body and enormous unnatural wear and tear on your joints, pushing yourself, forcing yourself into that position. So, yeah, I would say just, you know, remember that range of motion is a loading variable. If you're coming back from a really bad injury, or if you're just starting out as a weightlifter or into strength training or flexibility training, just like you don't push a stretch to its max range straight away under load, you build up to it. And it's something that you should be progressively overloading. If you missed the second lesson in this series where we spoke about the concept, we use the analogy of a load management being like a cup. Your load management is a metaphorical cup. Every stimulus that you expose your body to is pouring water into that cup. And when you push too far, you train too hard, you do too many workouts in a week, whatever you do to overload, that's the cup overflowing. And when you overflow, you hurt yourself. So just take that on board and understand that, you know, before we dig into this, range of motion is a loading variable that you can and should adjust using progressive overload. Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what would that look like in your training? You would train a pain-free range, strengthen that pain-free range by using progressive overload, which is a process that would take weeks and months. And then once that pain-free range has become strong enough, you can increase that range just a little bit, and then you repeat the process over and over again. And eventually you will be able to go way, way, way deeper on your primary lifts. And the deeper you get, the greater the range of motion that you can express strength through is the greater range of motion that you're going to be able to express flexibility through as well. They are tied together at the hip, and it's a concept that it's one of the reasons why so few really strong people are really flexible, is because if you go to a mainstream gym and you look at the way that the strongest people are lifting, the majority of them are not doing full range of motion, not even close to it. And so because they're training repeatedly over and over again, multiple days in the week, reinforcing a reduced range of motion, they become super tight. They become way tighter than the average person that isn't reinforcing that reduced range of motion. And then if you look at the on the other end of the spectrum, if you go to a professional athlete, and I love weightlifters the most because they just have some of the most exceptional flexibility in the world, and they're also some of the most muscular people in the world, especially around their legs and hips, and they are so goddamn strong. And when you look at the way that they're training in their training sessions, they do these massive mobility warm-ups to get themselves ready for their lifting sessions, and then they're training full range of motion, and they become very, very flexible as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why this works is because, remember, the flexibility adaptation principle. It's about breaking down or learning to release the inbuilt handbrake that your body develops over time when you're not accessing range. If you don't access range, then your body will restrict you from using that range if you try to, because you're not strong in the range. You're not strong in the nervous system. You're not strong in the muscles. You're not strong in the tendons and ligaments when you push into that range. And so the brain will, I like to call it the metaphorical handbrake. It just will jam the brake on, prevent you from getting there. And then when you try to do a stretching routine, which is a controlled environment, maybe a yoga routine or something like that, you're not at risk of falling into that position or twisting something or forcing something, you still can't access it because the brain is not used to you accessing that range. So you can sort of see now, if we apply logic, if you're training your strength training in that range every week, week in, week out, of course, you're developing strength, you're developing stability, and your brain is going to allow you to access that when you want to demonstrate high levels of flexibility as well. So the two, like Rad said before, it's two sides of the same coin, strength and flexibility. And this is what we teach at stage 3. When we're helping people identify what stage they're at out of the 3 stages of flexibility, stage 1 is a very basic. You just need stimulus over the whole body and something that's quite gentle that you can repeat on a daily basis, that can be done really quickly. It doesn't take an enormous amount of time, that gives you an immediate result. You should feel great after the first day. Stage 2 is when you start to apply strength and conditioning principles to it, where you start to split the workouts up throughout the week. You have a training split that allows more volume on specific movements or joints. And then stage 3 is really where we sort of refer it to as the specialist stage, because most people are either really flexible or really strong, but not both. And they can't demonstrate both in the functional realm, meaning, apply that to their sport or apply that to their training philosophy or hobby or whatever they're doing. And so that's when we teach people how to integrate strength and flexibility into the same workout. And the training through full range of motion is one method or principle that we apply at that stage 3.
Yep. And we're running out of time now, so we're going to give our final thoughts on this one. And if you want to know more of this, if you want to cut through the clutter, then grab the Flexibility Blueprint. It's a free download. If you're watching this or listening to it before the official release date, which is in September, that release date is written in the description of this podcast or this video. And if you're watching it after the fact, you can get it now. It's completely free. Just click the link and download it. But I guarantee you it's going to teach you exactly what stage you're at and what it is that you need to focus on right now, so that you can ignore the other 80% of the content out there and get hyper focused on the 20% that's going to give you a breakthrough in the next 28 days, which is really what it's all about, right? Like, we don't want to watch all these videos and listen to all this content and just nod our heads and go, yeah, that sounds awesome, but it doesn't actually change our bodies. For me, that's a real waste of time. Like, if you're going to be consuming content with the idea to learn about training principles, you want those training principles to be, absorbed by your brain, by your life, and implemented so that you get a result. I certainly know that I do. So yeah, grab that Flexibility Blueprint and let's get cracking. And hey, if you haven't done so yet, hit that share button. Copy the link, do it right now, and paste it into Messenger or into an email, wherever you communicate with your friends, and share this with somebody, because Yanni and I put a hell of a lot of effort into putting out free content for everybody out there that, working with a coach is just out of their budget. And the only ask that we have is that you share it. Please forward it to your friends. You might give something to someone that really changes their life, and it's certainly going to mean a lot to Yanni and I. So pretty please, if you haven't done so already, hit the share button, copy the link right now, and forward it to a friend.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you in the next episode.